I think.
Get closer.
Yeah, it's a zooming. I like that. Good.
It's a replica.
Nice. I'll take a photo as well. Okay.
More people can get around the front against the bars.
Huh?
Yeah, I tried.
I told you, that's why you got that. Because there's another Ethiopian flag.
But this is the royal.
That one itself, it's the star.
Yeah.
Blue.
This is the
Nice
perfect
guy. He
sign.
said he wants to meet you someday.
Oh, really?
You should try to show me a Star of David in that flag with
Yes.
the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See a Star of David in the camera shot.
Yeah,
You should like
perfect. You see now, this is the original monarch flag of Ethiopia. Now the flag of Israel.
Yes, very nice.
South Sudan.
That's the old Ethiopian flag. Now Ethiopia has like a star in it.
Yeah.
The flag has a star.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's his name. Call him something. Nice to meet you. It's on thanks.
I have it.
Lots of
Yeah, come in.
How's everyone?
Okay, so it's a set.
Yeah. Could you possibly just a little
Where are
bit
you
less?
from? Tell me what country. So I coach kids from all over the world, from Africa for 30 years.
So speak loud.
Yeah, okay,
like,
everybody. This is Nyajesus or Rebecca Nyajesus Nyayecu. I am, my title is Queen of Kings, Empress Nyajesus Nyayecu, elect of God of the Kingdom of Canaan, United Afro State. This title, the Queen of Kings, is a title for the Empress of Ethiopia, which is dated back to the first queen, which is the Queen of Sheba, which went to Jerusalem and see King Solomon. So Queen of Sheba history is a worldwide. It's in the Bible and also in Quran and all biblical and history. So our line comes from the monarchy in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
So the monarchy is from Solomon, because Queen, she traveled to go to Jerusalem because she was a virgin queen in Afro. So she was looking for somebody who had the knowledge, not only worldly knowledge, but the knowledge of the Most High. So when she was hearing, oh, there is a man in Israel that the Lord raised up. So he is so wise, and all people in the whole world was going to him. So she was curious about that. So, and then she said, okay, I'm going to take a journey to Jerusalem and meet this guy. This is his story, and you can find this story of the Glory of Kings, which is a book, Kever and Negus, which is, when you say Kever and you say Negus, the word Negus in Ethiopia is a Geese language, which we call Amharic in Ethiopia right now, is called king. Every king is called Negus. If you say Negus and Negus, that means it's the kings of kings.
Yeah.
All right. So the history is go back to Jerusalem, Queen of Sheba meeting Solomon. They have a son. Their first son is Solomon. It's Menelik the first. My grandfather is a Menelik the second. There was the kingdom of Abyssinia. Yeah, my grandfather, my great-grandfather is a Menelik the second. You guys seen it on the screen before. So that's why I wrote the book, because this history is not only in Ethiopia, it's an African history. And also it's a worldwide history. Our monarchy, the rule Ethiopia for 3,000 years, was removed in 1974. I wasn't even born. So at that time, when the government changed, you see this flag right here, this is represent the monarchy of Ethiopia. They've been there for centuries. But it was removed because Emperor Haile Selassie was the emperor of Ethiopia, the Solomonic Dynasty of 225th. All right. So he was the one who traveled in 1966 to Jamaica to see black people who was taken from Africa and taken to the Western world. So when he got there, the people were so excited and they heard about this story. So that's why there is a Rastafarians today. So I'm really, really happy because I cannot talk about my book altogether. You have to purchase the book. You have to read it to understand what this story is all about. I'm so happy for all of you because my book is dedicated to my family and my friends. So as my family and my friend, you came today and I'm so happy to see you. So please purchase the book and read it because this is our history, the history of mankind, Israel, Ethiopia, Africa, Sudan, go back to Axum. So this is our history. So that is all about. Let's talk about a little bit about me because I went through a lot. When the monarchy was removed in 1974 and the Emperor Haile Selassie was taken to jail and destroyed or was killed, there was a big civil war in Ethiopia. And that civil war moved from Ethiopia into Sudan because Sudan and Ethiopia, they are one and the same. So by the time I was born, my father was an heir into the throne line in Sudan. So the civil war came from Ethiopia into Sudan, and it's been going on for a long time. So now what we're talking about is the restoration of Solomonic Dynasty in Ethiopia and also the glory of African people worldwide. So this is what my book is all about, and thank you so much. I'm not going to talk much. I want us to enjoy. And what I'm going to say now, or I'm going to do, this man beside me is from Israel. His name is Berry Bragment. So this man, he cursed many African children in this country in Canada for many years. One of them is a South Sudanese, which is right now is in Paris, in London, England. So he's so famous now because this team that he cursed is like taking the world in surprise. They couldn't believe it. Now African team of basketball can do this in this modern time. So I'm gonna welcome him and he's gonna share what his thoughts are with us. Okay, so please welcome Berry.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you for inviting me here today in front of all your friends and new friends. And a couple weeks ago, I spoke at a Nigerian, or mostly Nigerian, get-together. They were for new immigrants. So I spoke about opportunity in Canada. And as you know, last night was the start of the Olympics. It was a great event. If you didn't catch it, you should try to catch it today or tonight. They have replays. But it's not so much the athleticism, it's about different people getting together with different people from different cultures. And we're a multicultural country, as you know, Canada, and I call it the land of opportunity. And besides being a basketball coach, I do all this for over 30 years. It's mostly volunteer work. We make a little money from our summer camps, which we just finished last week of 25 years. And whatever money we make, we put back into the club, and we buy uniforms for the kids. We get them basketball shoes, kids that don't have much. And we help them with little trips with their coaches, etc., etc. But the Olympics last night, I was looking at all the different athletes coming down on the boats in the Seine in Paris. It was probably the best opening ceremonies I've ever seen, and I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of Olympics, and myself, I was very 1/10 of a second from going to the 1976 Olympics. Most of you weren't even born then, but I was a top-notch rower. I was a top-notch football player, top-notch hockey player. Whatever sport I did, I was always at the top level. So was my sister. because we have good genes in our family. My late mother of 95, never a sick day in her life. She drove a car till she's 93, and she played sports till she was 89. She was the oldest of 7 brothers, and she was 20 years older than them, and she outlived them all because she played sport. But getting back to the Olympics last night, I don't have this speech prepared, as I told Rebecca, because I've done a lot of speeches, and I reflected on what it meant to me as watching it, and as a former athlete and a well-known coach helping kids, not in hockey, because I grew up as a hockey player. When I was 3 years old, I used to skate with my late father out in the Lake Superior, not here, but Big Lake, and hockey was a big thing. Like, when you come to America, most people in Africa know that the #1 sport in Canada is hockey. But now things have changed, okay? And my late mother used to say, you have to think outside of the box. And last night was an unbelievable ceremony of the Olympics. I watched all the faces of all the Olympians, and a lot of them were from poor countries, from all over the world, South America, from everywhere in the world. But it brings people together, it makes people happy, and people get along. And my theme a couple weeks ago was about people, new immigrants to America from Africa. And some of you are new here. I met a young lady here today from Kenya who's been here 6 months, and she told me about her family in Kenya. But I always say to people, get your kids involved into sport, because sports, you always have good friends, okay? It teaches you, whether it's an individual sport or team sport, how to get along with people. And we're a very multicultural country. We have people from all over the world who live in Canada. And besides being an economist and a well-known basketball coach, I'm an historian, okay? And one of my favorite leaders from back in World War II was the late Prime Minister, Churchill, who was from England. And they asked him after the war, they said to him, Mr. Churchill, why did the Allies win the war? The Germans had the best airplanes technologically. They had the best airplanes in the air. They're called the Messerschmitts. And on the land in Africa and different countries of the world, they had the best tanks. They're called the Tiger tanks. So Sir Winston Churchill said this. He said, our philosophy, the British, the Americans, the Canadians, and other allies, was the pessimist seeks difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist seeks opportunity in every difficulty. So think about that. You're a new person here in Canada. You've come here, you don't have much, you don't know anybody. Canada is a land of opportunity, and you've got to embrace it. You've got to take advantage of it, especially if you're a young person. There's lots of opportunities for work, lots of opportunities for your young kids to get involved into sport. This young boy, who I did a fundraiser with him at the Boys and Girls Club at the end of June, at the Boys and Girls Club across from Heron Gate. He set up, his name is Mario Shayok, and he's 25 now, so subtract 16 years. When he was 9 years old, he was at my summer camp. I asked him, where are you from? He said, I was born here, but my father is from Sudan. So in 1988, it's a great story. He came here as a single man, as a refugee. From then, the country was known as Sudan. Now, you have 2 different countries, okay? I think South Sudan, it's in the 11th year or 12th year as its anniversary, because last year I spoke in front of 500 people at Vincent Massey Park to all the parents from South Sudan about school and sport. But getting back to 1988, a young man, his name was Makur Shayok, came to America, to the United States, on a basketball scholarship. He was 6'9", 18, skinny guy, didn't know anybody. And he landed in Dayton, Ohio, which is, if you know the United States, it's south of Michigan, of Detroit, Michigan. He went to school there for 4 years. He played basketball. He got all his education paid for. He finished at 21, 22 years old. Somehow he migrated to London, Ontario, which is near Toronto, if you don't know where London is. And he met his future wife, Helena. And there were a lot of Sudanese there in London. How they ended up in London, I have no idea. Because if he landed in my hometown, which is not in Ottawa, I'm a Northern Ontario boy. I was born and raised on the lake in Sault Ste. Marie. And all they know up there is hockey, and I don't think at that time when I was raised that we ever saw an African person. So if he ever migrated there, he would be one of a kind. But he was in London, he met his future wife, they had 5 children. They moved to Ottawa when he was a young man, and the first 2 girls didn't want to play sports. The third girl wanted to play. Her name was Yar, Y-A-R. And when I met her, she was 13, skinny, about 6'3". The father is 6'6". As you know, if you don't know, Sudanese people are the tallest people in the world. The second tallest, if you didn't know, because I know a lot about African culture, are the Senegal, people from the Senegal. They're the second tallest, okay? Maybe you're from Nigeria or from Kenya, and you have somebody in your family that's tall, so that's okay. I won't hold it against you, okay? But being tall doesn't mean you're going to be a great basketball player, okay? But other than that, the important thing is I got to know the family, and getting back to the family, they had, after the third girl, they had a boy. His name was Shayok, and Sudanese names sometimes their first and last name the same. So his name was Shayok. Same first and last name. So if you were his school teacher, you would never forget his first name because it's the same as his last name. So he played basketball, and I sent him on a scholarship to Kansas, everything paid for, and he's playing up to last year professional basketball in Brazil. There's many professional basketball leagues in the world. Not everybody can make the NBA. To make the NBA, you have about 0.00001%. So the 5th child, his name was Mario, and getting back to my summer camp, at 9 years old, he looked at me and he said, "Coach, someday I'm going to play professional basketball in the NBA." So I smiled and I said, "That's great. Think big," because my late father always said, "Go for the stars. Always think big." So at 20 years old, after I sent him to the United States on a 4-year scholarship, first 2 years at Virginia, and then he played his last year at a school, you probably don't know even where it is, Iowa State, okay? It's in the state of Iowa, which is in the southern United States. So he was an All-American, and lo and behold, in 2019, his name was called out in the 2nd round. He was the first student, not only African, but any student from Ottawa that got drafted in the NBA. So we had a big party, but nothing's guaranteed, okay? So he went to training camp. He didn't make the team, which is not unusual because he's 21 years old. He was sent to a lower league called the D League, which is developmental league, okay? So he's 21, 22. He played a year or two. He was the leading scorer in the developmental league. So the next year, Philadelphia called him up and gave him a chance for a few games. But for whatever reason, the coach didn't believe in him. So he sent him back down to the minors, to the 2nd league. And he was making good money. He wasn't making millions of dollars. He was making a good salary, like $200,000, $300,000, which is more than most of us make a year, okay? So anyways, make a long story short, he got traded to the Boston Celtics last year, and of course Boston won the NBA championship this year. And he sort of fell through the grapevine, and he caught on in Division 1 in China. He played this past year. But last summer, in 2023, his team went to the Philippines And he was the leading scorer, and his African team, South Sudan, was the best African team there. So automatically they qualified for the Olympics, which was going to be a year later, which is now. So he's all excited. Didn't mean that he was going to play on the team, because they had tryouts in April a few months ago, and they had 25 guys try out from South Sudan, okay? And he made the team. But last Saturday, he woke up the world. And I mean, he woke it up, okay? They played against the United States, the best 12 players in the world. He played against LeBron James, who, to me, I've been around a long time. There's a debate, who's the best player ever? LeBron's going to be 40 years old in January, this January. He's a great player and a great human being, okay? And I'll tell you why he's a great human being. It has to do a little bit with Israel, but I don't want to get into politics. But LeBron said, he scored 24 points. He said, he hugged Mario, and he says, your team is unbelievable. You only lost to us by 1 point. I said, that's unbelievable. You should be playing in the NBA. It came from LeBron James. And if LeBron James says that, then the coaches of the NBA should be listening to him, okay? So I'm getting back to my original thought about the pessimist and the optimist. And remember what I said with Sir Winston Churchill, one of the greatest prime ministers of all time of any country, okay? There have been some great female prime ministers and presidents. We had Gandhi from India. We had Golda Meir in 1968, the prime minister of Israel. And we had Margaret Thatcher, British prime minister, okay? 3 great women ran the country. I look up to them. But my thought is this: Mario and Sudan should be very proud of him, South Sudan. We all are here. We're all cheering for him to do well at the Olympics. Win or lose, he was there yesterday. They had big flotilla and this and that. But being there with his family is very important, okay? So his dream came true, and the additional dream was he's there at the Olympics. But I brought this article. He was written up in the Ottawa Sun, the Toronto Star this week. There's a picture of him there. And there's LeBron at the bottom, and he's guarding one of LeBron's teammates. And then last summer, before the Philippines World Championships, he started a foundation at the Boys and Girls Club. And that's to raise money for kids that can't afford to go to camps, to play sports. And his family and him and his brother and his 3 sisters raised over $5,000. They invited me to help out. It was a tournament. It was fabulous. And they did it this past summer. And Rebecca was fortunate to come with me, and I introduced her. And they were all excited to meet Rebecca. And the bottom line is that you have to give yourself a chance. Sometimes things don't work out the way you want it to work, okay? And my late mother of 95, she drove a car till she's 93. She came from a family of 7 younger brothers, 20 years younger. She outlived them all because she played sports and she thought outside of the box. And that's what you have to do. You're here, you're new, and you can't get down on yourself. You have to think what Prime Minister Churchill said back in 1948. Why the Allies beat Germany, thank goodness that we did, in the World War II, okay? So, opportunity is there for you. And Rebecca has come here since I've met her. She's always optimistic. She's always, this is not tough to sell her book. The Journey, I have read her book. It's an amazing book. If you haven't read it, you haven't bought an issue, this is a good present to get for your family, for anybody, okay? It's a story. It's her story. And there are many stories, okay? And we have a lot of problems. We have problems, of course, now in Palestine. We have problems in Venezuela. We have problems in Haiti. There's problems all over the world. But the Olympics yesterday put a smile on my face. It's because I saw all these young people. And my late mother, and I get a lot of life skills from my late mother, because she lived to 95. My dad had one bad problem. He did too much of this, and we lost him at 60. But my father was a great mentor. He coached First Nations kids, which in those days, in the 60s and 70s, were called Indians. They were the foundation of Canada. They came from James Bay. They had no schools up there. So where did they go to school? The closest place, if you look on a map, is Sault Ste. Marie in northern Ontario. It's 10 hours, 9 hours drive. Beautiful. It's on the lake. Someday, if you ever want to take a trip there, you'll say it's a beautiful place to grow up. And he took them under his wing. Okay, one day George came home. He was 9 years old, an Indian boy, and I'll call him Indian because in those days that's what we called him. And he knew, my dad knew, they were all living in residence, just like when your child goes away to university at 17 and not going to Carleton or Ottawa U or Algonquin. They go out of town. They stay in residence their first year. They don't know anybody, right? They didn't know anybody. But they liked sports. So George came, and my dad, I said, Daddy, I was 9 years old, you got to watch this guy play hockey. He can skate better than anyone we have on our team. So we had a hockey rink in our backyard. My dad had a friend, and he made the ice, the lights, and he skated around circles. So he says to George, George, do you have any more friends that want to play on the team? Oh, yeah. And he brought back 7 of them the next day, and they were faster than George. For 3 years, they played on my hockey team. We never lost a hockey game in 3 years as 9, 10, 11-year-olds. So one day, my dad gets a call from Toronto, from a coach who has a big tournament there. And in Toronto, they think they're the best at everything they do. Okay, it doesn't matter what sport. That's their mentality. I have cousins in Toronto. Anyways, the guy said to my dad, how would you like to come to our Christmas tournament? We have the best teams in Toronto, Montreal, So my dad said, okay. So in those days, the main vehicle, not like today where you have the big station wagons, Jeeps and stuff. You had station wagons back in the day. So my dad gathered up 2 of his buddies, and we took all 14 players to Toronto for 3 days. And half of the team of the 14 kids were First Nations. In those days, we called them Indians. We played the best teams from Toronto and Montreal. What were the scores? 10-0 for us, 9-1 for us, 8-0 for us, and 7-2. We walked away with a big trophy. Every kid got a nice jacket and all types of things. We came back to little Sault Ste. Marie, but they never invited my father's team back again because they were jealous of us beating them, okay? But the whole thing is that reminds me of a lot of the kids that I've coached from Africa. They come here with their parents. They don't know anything better. But Canada is the land of opportunity, and you must seize it, okay? And don't listen to anybody that lives here. We have a lot, I hate to tell you this, but a lot of our native Canadians, they depend on Mr. Trudeau for handouts, okay? They don't want to work, okay? They want to get freebies. They want to get handouts every month, okay? And I'm not going to get into a political thing here because I'm not in politics, okay? I'm a coach. But when I see kids come to me and say, Coach Barry, I love your club. I love meeting new friends from different parts of the world, and it helps me with my development. That's what makes me feel good. And this boy makes me feel good because his father had a journey back in 1988. Him and his beautiful wife, Helena, who I sometimes bump into because they live on Walkley Road, near the giant tiger on Walkley, and some of you live in this area. And I see her at Metro. So I bump into her, and she always comes up, gives me a big hug and kiss. My late mother was 5 feet 6 inches, 5 inches, about average height. But when her husband McClure, who's 6'9", would see her, she would come up to his knees, and he loved my mother. This is Mariel's father, Makur. He'd give her a big hug. So she's looking down now, and so is my late father, of all the work that I've done with not only Mariel, but kids not only from Africa, from Philippines, from South America, and keeping kids on the right side of the tracks. Every police officer, I train at Hawthorne Public School. If you don't know where that is, it's just off Walkley Road, from September to April. And I keep my kids in line, okay, on the right side of the tracks, okay, playing sport, doing good in school. All my students are excellent students. So when the scouts from the United States look at my students, they think Coach Barry, all his students are smart. Our American kids don't take care of their school. All they think about is sport. And there's more in life besides that. And a lot of my kids do volunteer work, okay? That's how you get good jobs, is do volunteer work. You get to get out in the community and do that. So every summer I hire kids that are 15, 16 to graduate from high school. If you don't know that, you need to put in 40 hours of community work, which is not much. This is 1 week, right? But on your resume, okay, when the employer is looking at a job, and not just in high school, in college, and they say, oh, Joe Blow is a great student, he plays sports, but what else does he? He does community work, okay? He works in the hospital, he works at the church, okay? He works for Coach Barry as a volunteer with young kids. That's what people like. And you know how many of my students are working at Harvey's, Wendy's, and Tim Hortons? When they apply for the job and they look, and the employer, the manager, looks at it and says, Ottawa Celtics, they get the job first, okay, ahead of anybody else, because they did volunteer work, okay? So, in ending, I just want to stress to you that I want to thank Rebecca for inviting me, and I hope that your book goes well. It's a great book. I've read it. I'm going to read it again. I've given it to lots of my family members. They've enjoyed it and passing on the word. And it's a great journey. And it's the same journey that I'm using as an example of Mariel's father when he came many years ago, in 1988, as a skinny 6'8" refugee from Sudan by himself. And he's very proud of his family, his wife is, and I'm proud of them. I'm thinking about, I just got a text from Mariel in the hotel room. They're getting ready for their first game tomorrow. In case you get television, which most of you have, it's 5 o'clock, because don't forget, France is 6 hours ahead of us, okay? So they're playing Puerto Rico, the first game. And guess who they're playing on Tuesday? They're getting to play the United States again, which is for real.
Wow.
And he gets to play against LeBron, and then after that, 3 days later, he gets to play Serbia, which is a very, very good team. Canada is in it too. I'm cheering for Canada because Mariel has dual citizens, okay? But maybe someday, the next Olympics in Los Angeles, 4 years from now, they'll play for Team Canada. But Canada's in it. I know 2 of the boys there who are 24 and 26. They played against me when I was 11, 12. Remember, my teams were, when I sent 5, 6 teams to Toronto on weekends, girls and boys, no one wanted to play against the Ottawa Celtics. Because I got street kids, but I taught them how to discipline, how to play within themselves, show their ability, and all my coaches were like me, that they wanted to teach them life skills, and that's what it's all about. So I thank you for your time. I thank you, Rebecca, for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Coach Barry, and I'm really glad that you joined us today, and I'm really proud of your story, the history of the Sudanese man who came here in North America, and who you coach his children. So this story is very amazing. It's a part of this book also. So as we know, this is the book. This is how it looks. It's a worldwide. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it anywhere. There is some website who say you can read it for 30 days for free before you buy it. So please, you can check it out. The reason why it's really important because it's a restoration of Solomon Dynasty in Ethiopia. Because Ethiopia is like the foundation in Africa. It's the glory that the Lord has given us. Even the diaspora of African people, they're looking to this. They cannot really return even if the descendants of the royalty did not establish the kingdom. So I want your support, and I want you guys to read the book. And also, if you do that on Amazon, so you give the book a review, so it will help a lot. Okay. So thank you so much. My father and my mother, they were in this together. They love Africa, they love the diaspora, and they love history. And now that the book is out, so we all going to share the history and the unification of African people worldwide. This is all about. We've seen that, Africa has become a nation. It started in 1960, the unification of the African nation when they formed the African unity, which was Emperor Haile Selassie was the one who had an idea, and all the presidents of Africa came together, and we have the AU, or African Union. So now the African Union has been functioning for so long, but the union has not been really working for us as people in Africa and also the diaspora. So that's why you can go anywhere in the nation of Africa, it still not function as it should be. So this is because there's something missing. And when you read this book, you will understand why. The Solomonic Dynasty, which the Lord gave us, this is the throne of the Lord. This is the throne of David. This is the throne of Solomon. Even Israel is a part of this. We are all together. When we come together and handle the Lord, everything will be okay. So you can read the book and you will understand what I mean. So I thank Queen for coming here, represent Israel together with us and sharing the story with me. So thank you. The music will continue playing because the afternoon is still here and we're going to leave like 3. Maybe people who promised to come will come. But I want to thank the team who come here as recording the event. So I'm so grateful for all of you. So thank you so much. This is the book. Check it out. And thank you for the DJ. You can give up more.
Hey.
And by the way, how the DJ arrived here, Kimba, right?
Simba, yeah.
Huh?
Simba.
Simba.
Yeah.
I know it was the Imba, but I didn't know it was Simba or Kimba. Anyways, I got so many names.
Yeah.
Before I tell you about Simba, my mother used to say, I took my team to Sault Ste. Marie, and up in northern Ontario, they don't see too many African people. So my coach, who was 85 at the time, he was still coaching, okay, believe it or not. And I brought my team up to the Sioux, and he brought teams up from Michigan, because Detroit, Michigan is close. Sault Ste. Marie, if you look at it's on the border, just like we're on the border of New York State, right? So he brought up some of the top teams there. So he never called me by my first name, okay? I was his star quarterback, his star goalie, whatever sport I excelled in high school. He called me by my last name, which is Bregman, not Barry. So he says, look at the roster. He says, I'm going to need an interpreter, because I had names like Dahir, Mahir, Mohammed. And I had names like Abu Shib from Vietnam. I didn't have one Mary Jones or John Blow, okay? And so my mother used to tell all her friends, I called my mother the second coming of Betty White. Betty White was on a famous show. You have to see this if you ladies haven't seen it. Maybe Rebecca knows, but she's too young too. It's called The Golden Girls, okay? There were 4 girls that used to get together and go out, and they all lost their husbands at a young age, and they used to play cards, they went dancing, they did everything. My mother, we lost my dad, I told you, at 60 back in 1983. And my mother just passed 6 years ago in 2017 or 18. So she lived a full life, never sick a day in her life, okay? Lived to 95, so she had a fruitful life. But they had fun. They were together. So she used to say, "Oh, my Barry, he's going away on Friday because we'd have to travel to London or Windsor, and then we play a game Friday night, game Saturday and Sunday." And I had 6 teams traveling with different coaches on the 401 down to Toronto. So her girlfriends would say, "Rose," my mother's name was Rose, biblical name Rachel, Rachel, and my father's name was Isaac. So they used to say, "Why don't you go on one of the trips with Barry, one of his girls' teams?" So I arranged one of the mothers to drive my mother, and we got her a hotel room, and she came out and watched all the games, and on Sunday night we came home with either a gold or silver medal. But she had a great time seeing the kids play basketball, okay, and enjoying themselves. And so my point is Zimbab, I met him at my foundation, or Mariel Shayos, and he was the DJ there. And I said to him, I'm going to be helping Rebecca in July, right? And so we're doing some business on other things now too. I'm trying to help him because he has a full-time job and he does this. He's a hard-working fellow. So that's how Zimba arrived here today. So
wow.
It's nice to have you and see you. He plays all kinds of music. So if you want African music, he'll play that. If you want Rihanna music, he'll play that. If you want music from my day, Motown in the 70s and 80s with Barry White, the Spinners, Marvin Gaye, I'm sure Earth, Wind and Fire, that's a great music, okay?
Awesome.
From Detroit, Michigan, because I grew up near Detroit and I grew up with that type of music. Still the best music. All my kids and even my grandkids listen to that music. But they like music. I love African music and I love music from all over the world. I speak in poco Espanol. I speak in peu français, but I know music from South America. And they have some really good artists there from different countries, okay? So anyways, it's nice to see you. And on behalf of Rebecca, I'm happy you joined us today too. So a nice round of applause for Zimbabwe.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I think we still keep going, but I really appreciate the team who came to record this event.
No problem.
They even came so early that I didn't even imagine. So I'm really, really happy for them, and I really thank God for what they have done to come here so early.
Wonderful.
So thank you, and I'm not going to keep them any longer, so thank you so much, guys.
So we're here to introduce Empress Nyajesus, Nyayecu, Elect of God, and her amazing new book. And we're looking forward to hearing about your book and basically what sort of inspired you to write your new book?
Yes, that's a good question. My book is about my history, what I went through, and also it's about the Solomonic Dynasty, which is in Ethiopia, 3,000 years old dynasty, which is from the line of King Solomon and King David. And this story starts with, you can find the Book of Kings in the Old Testament, that our Queen of Sheba, she was ruling Exum in Ethiopia, and then she heard that there was a king in Jerusalem or in Israel that the Lord has raised up who is wise. So she didn't believe the news, and then she said, I have to go myself to see. So she took a long journey to Jerusalem, and she met King Solomon. And she was so impressed with the knowledge that she found, because she was an intelligent woman. That she thought at her time that they knew one who knows the Lord like he is. And all knowledge and wisdom and understanding. For her to see or hear that there is a man who is knowledgeable, she didn't believe it. But when she went to Jerusalem and she met King Solomon, she was so happy. And she praised the Lord Almighty, or the God of Israel, for raising up King David. King David throne or Solomon, who is a line of King David.
Oh, I see.
So as the history goes, in Ethiopia we have a book that called The Glory of the Kings. And our kings are called Nyayecu, which is the kings of kings.
Oh, okay.
Because they came from the line of David, which is the throne of God.
Oh, okay.
So when Queen of Sheba met Solomon, so Solomon learned a lot from the queen, and the queen learned a lot from Solomon. So as the history goes, they had a son together. Their first child called Menelik the first. So King Solomon wanted Queen Sheba to stay in Israel. So she want to marry her so she can stay in Israel, because he was looking for a wise woman also, that she, King Solomon history, he have a lot of wife and a lot of concubine. The reason why that was because he couldn't find a woman that fit him, or a wise woman. So he was trying to marry the princesses of the other nations and brought them to Jerusalem and Israel, but still he wasn't satisfied. So when this queen came to him, he was really satisfied. He was really happy. But Queen Sheba told him, I cannot marry you, I cannot stay in Jerusalem, because I have a kingdom. I must return to Sheba or Axum. So Axum was a big kingdom, not only in Ethiopia, it was also in India, it was also on what we call Middle East today, and Yemen was a part of it. So it was a very, very big kingdom. Emperor Menelik, because the son of King Solomon, which is Menelik the first, when he was born, when the queen returned back to Axum, she gave birth to her first child, which is Menelik the first. When the child grew up and he became like an adult, he went back to Jerusalem to meet his father. And also his father led him back to Axum. And with him, he gave him the Ark of the Covenant, which is still currently in Ethiopia. So when Menelik returned back with all the priests and the Ark of the Covenant, after her mother, Queen of Sheba, he established the kingdom, which is the kingdom of Israel. Not only Axum now, it became like a kingdom of Israel in Africa. So our line came from that kind of history, the line of African people, because Ethiopia is the same word as Sudan. It means black land. Ethiopia means black land, Sudan means black land. So Sudan and Ethiopia were one and the same. She was ruling Sudan, also in Ethiopia, and all the tribes of Africa, they were one in this kingdom. She was like the queen of Africa.
That's interesting.
So the history will go on, because in 1974, the socialist government arose in Ethiopia, which overthrew the monarchy, removed it, which is Haile Selassie the first, which is the 225th ruler of the Solomonic Dynasty.
I see. Okay.
So they removed him, but the line there is, because there is a different branches of the Solomonic Dynasty. In Sudan we have a different branch. We come from the line of Solomon, which is in Ethiopia there is where Menelik the first and Menelik the second. These came, we call Amara people. They live in the central Ethiopia, and that's where Menelik the second ruled, which is was the ruler in Axum. We call it Axum. Abyssinia. Abyssinia, because before it became Ethiopia, we call it Abyssinia. So Emperor Menelik II, which is my great-grandfather, was the ruler in Axum, in Abyssinia, which he united all the tribe, which is 80-something tribe in Ethiopia, and he united them into one nation. So, and in 1896, the Italian came and invaded Ethiopia. And he went to a prophet in Sudan and consoled him what he should do, because he was tricked into this agreement that they just came as a visitor, but they stay in Eritrea, and then in the agreement, they said they're taking over Abyssinia, it became Ethiopia, and they were doing it to the other nation of Africa. So when the king, he was so wise, so after the agreement, and he realized, okay, this agreement between Italy and Ethiopia, let's translate it into Amharic. So the language in Ethiopia is called Amharic or Gis. So he let his official translate the agreement into Amharic, and then the truth was revealed. Then they got tricked. So Italy actually took over Ethiopia according to the agreement. So when he tried to talk to them and say, what is going on with the agreement, I cannot agree with that because Ethiopia is independent. I cannot really give you my independence. And then Italian just won a war at that time. So he went to Sudan and consult a prophet, which name was Mundengbo, from the Nuer tribe of southern Sudan. And the prophet, they did agreement, and he gave him like some kind of cow. And this cow represents the unification or the victory. God will give victory to him, to the emperor, which it did in 1896. The war of Adwa was happening in the northern Ethiopia, and Emperor Menelik the second won the war. So after that, when he passed away, Zuzitu, which is his daughter, became a empress. My grandfather was just born. He was a baby. So his daughter became empress. And then there was Nyajesu, which supposed to be, he had a daughter, Menelik had a daughter, had a son. His name was Nyajesu. He's supposed to be emperor of Ethiopia after that, but the cabinet removed her. So Zozita was brought into the cabinet. She was ruling Ethiopia, and then after her, Haile Selassie in 1930 was granted as emperor of Ethiopia.
I see.
So from 1930 to 1974 was Haile Selassie, who sit the throne of David and Solomon in Ethiopia. But in 1974, the monarch were removed, and there was civil war, both in Sudan and Ethiopia. This is what my history is all about. Because in 1984 and 1983, there was the beginning of war in Sudan and Ethiopia. Thus, I was in the middle of it. I was only 4 years old, so I went through this kind of war because all the descendants of the royalty was removed from power, and they were scattered. So I cannot tell a lot or all the history, but this is what it is. This is a restoration of the Solomonic Dynasty, which is a glory of not only for African people here in Africa, but all over the world. Haile Selassie went to Jamaica because he understands Africa cannot function without the people, his people who left Africa. So, because he was the one who found the EU or African unity, the reason why he brought all the presidents of Africa together is that they can be united so the diaspora can return back to Africa.
I see.
But in 1974 he was removed, so that dream was not realized. So this is what it's all about. It's a restoration of the monarchy again in Ethiopia and Sudan. So the diaspora must come back to their people.
Awesome. It's a very nice cover too.
That's beautiful.
Catch a cover. Very artistic. Very nice back too. Yes, you obviously did a lot of work. You get out your own separate artist? Are you the artist or something?
I am the artist,
You're the artist.
That's incredible.
Very talented.
I get help a little bit, but I'm the artist,
Fantastic. We can tell you're artistic. You're very fashionable.
That's very nice.
Very fashionable.
And
awesome. So this is like anybody interested in the missing history of Africa, because as you know, Africa does not get covered well in schools and stuff like this. There's a lot of missing history. We talk about European history, American history, Canaan history, but we only get a very small amount of history from a European perspective. So you're sort of missing, people who read this book will be able to get in touch with the kingdoms of Africa, particularly as they relate to Ethiopia, because as many people don't know, I mean, Africa had very advanced kingdoms before they were invaded and tricked and stuff like that. Very advanced technologically, they were ahead of the Europe and stuff like that and stuff. So that deals with sort of the pre-colonial history, I guess.
Absolutely, and in my book I talk about because if you don't know your history, you can never move forward in life.
Yeah.
I realized that not only the African descents forget about who they are and the glory that the Lord gave them, also the mankind have to know who we are and where we come from, because we are connected as one people. But this is the mission of this is to bring all the descendants of African back together and to realize that the struggle that our people have been having for centuries is something to do with the knowledge. You know, the scriptures say, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Yeah, because when you don't know yourself and you don't know what happened, you will never achieve anything in life. So I bring a little bit or even more detail about what or why our struggle and how we're going to come out of this. Yes, absolutely.
And
There's a lot of people, like particularly African people, they are kind of, when they're taught in schools, they learn about African and blackness from slavery, and people automatically, you know, when black people think of themselves just as coming from their, you know, ancestors being former ex-slaves, that's a different mentality than if you think that your ancestors might have been part of advanced kingdoms that had contact with King Solomon, and that you're part of that sort of lineage, of that sort of royal lineage from the contact with, you know, just when, long before the state of Israel, when the, you know, Jewish people were sort of scattered all over the world, and it wasn't the state of Israel. You had, and you were part of that sort of that diaspora of coming into contact with Solomon, and then having, and I guess you're part of that sort of Jewish-Israeli tradition and stuff like that.
Absolutely. When you talk about Jewish today, we didn't, as African people, we think we're not a part of Israel, but we are. Because when you are born of the lineage of King Solomon, you are a part of it. We are the Israelites as a part of the Jews. So even the Bible said that my people, there is the other people that can come into the union with the people. You see, when Jerusalem was destroyed in 1970, in 70 AD by the Romans, and Jerusalem temple was destroyed, and Israelites was scattered, the Jews of the Europe took the book, we call for. So they learned the scripture. But we in Africa, we lost the history. But in exile, the scripture was there even today. In the whole world, the Bible, the whole the Bible is in Ethiopia. The mankind history is actually in Ethiopia. So it's just coming back to self. We are the Israelites, that's clear. But we have to know ourselves. And when you talk about the diaspora, when you've been in this part of the world and you don't know the connection with your people, Africa is a continent. So which place I should go, like which country? Because now it's independent, like 54 countries. So where should I go? Where does my people came from? So this is a big issue. But this book actually explains it a lot. Not only you can know about how my connection is to Africa, but you can really know that where you're from or where you belong. Okay, because God said in the Bible, at the last day I will reveal the truth. Isaiah chapter 11, you can read the redemption of God people. Okay, or African descent. So this is what this book is all about. Africa, if it's not united as a one person, we have a United States of America, have 50 states. So, but they are ruling one. So this idea is we have the United Africa or Afro states. That's all diaspora can come to, or African people can come to as a one. That's the only redemption, or the only union that can please God. All right. This is what this book is about.
So the book is about restoring and bringing
Yeah.
Africans
Yeah,
and
coming
Africa together.
as one.
I'm an historian.
As one.
Sort of restoring the idea of the kingdoms and that. Is that
Yeah,
part of
the
it?
kingdom, because we are under the kingdom, which is the kingdom of God, the Solomonic Dynasty, the throne of David. The Lord said that I will return to restore the tabernacle of David, which has fallen.
Oh, okay.
So you see, it fallen 1974, so He's risen it up.
Okay.
When God raised up His tabernacle, which is His kingdom up, then His people will be there, and He said, I will.
Oh, okay. Awesome, awesome. So what are some closing thoughts you might have in terms of anybody just thinking about buying the book and stuff? Any sort of, any thoughts you have in terms of how people can be inspired by buying this book, and any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. When you read the beginning of book, you will learn about my struggle as a person. So that will encourage you a lot, because in life you can struggle a lot, but with faith and courage you can overcome. My book is about that, and I'm going to have many programs to talk about courage and faith. So that's what I want people to learn about. Read my book, and then you will be surprised. Because I went through a lot, but still I'm standing. This is because of the faith in God. This is because of the courage of all God gave me as a human being, and I'm still standing. And I believe that the union of African people is the solution, and that's what the Lord wants for His people.
Wow.
Awesome, awesome. And can you repeat just one more time the entire book, just so that people can read it, check it out? So that's the book, Queen of Kings, subtitle, Empress Nyajesus, Nyayecu, Elect of God of the Kingdom of Canaan, United Afro States, Southern Sudan, Wakanda.
Yes, when I say Southern Sudan, it's good that you read that, because I almost forgot. Southern Sudan was one country. Until 2011, it was separated. So now that's why we have the flag right here.
Southern Sudan,
So Southern Sudan now is the place. You see, this one is the currency, and this currency is managed by the United States of America, by Google. You can say Goy, his name is Goy, is Gooy. If you say word Goy, you would see Google coming up, and it's all over the world. You can invest into it, you can do it all over. But this is our national currency that was created in 2012. Yeah, this is not a new currency. It's in Ethiopia and also in Sudan. South Sudan, which have the flag, which is now in the world state of playing the basketball in the world. This is the place of destiny for all African people, because South Sudan is like when I say Wakanda, the word Wakanda, the history is a hidden word. Wakanda is a kingdom that is hidden for all in the eye of mankind, but is already there, which is Sudan and Ethiopia. The Lord people the journey to. This is what it's all about. Yes.
Awesome, awesome. That's fantastic. So definitely a lot of rich history there. Your book will definitely give people an appreciation of your struggles, how they can be inspired by your struggles, and the history that they're not aware about, and really understand that sort of missing link of history, Judaism, and stuff that they won't learn about in school.
Because you see, I am a rabbi, and I'm called sheep rabbi. The reason why, because I studied theology, and when I was studying theology, it took me 15 years to study not only Christianity or the New Testament, also the Old Testament, we will call the First Testament or Torah, and also the Islam, which is Quran. So it's come to the conclusion, all the messengers that the Lord has sent, they have a spiritual message to the mankind, which is a union, which is a love. Because God is a God of all mankind, but you have to stay with your lineage, like your heritage. So you cannot lose your heritage. You have to connect with your heritage. So that will bring unity and love with all mankind together.
Awesome.
Also, yes.
Fantastic. So thank you very much for that very, having that inspiring insight in what your book is about. I hopefully, definitely anybody out there listening or watching this interview, make sure you get a copy at Amazon or wherever you can get a copy. It's an amazing book, very beautifully put together. This hardcover, very nice. You definitely want to check it out. You can tell by a book like this that it is bound to have inspiring words inside of the book. So definitely check out this book. You want to find out and be inspired by the wisdom, the insights, the spirituality, and everything all put together in terms of the tremendous work that went into this book. So thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Girls, over here. We want to take a picture.
Yeah, let's take a picture.
He's going to take a picture of you and I. Wait. Just a picture of the two of us.
Okay.
And she has me as a guest speaker.
Smile.
Did you like my speech?
Yes. You can hold the book too if you want. Yeah. Just hold the book. Like you're giving it to him. Okay. Okay, smile here. Okay.
Johnny, got good steps there, bro. Where do you see mine? They have a Michael Jackson.
Okay. Okay, everybody want to be in the photo together? Everybody.
Hey, girls, come on in.
Full team.
Get a picture of everybody. Oh boy, there you go. Girls, here, girls.
Okay,
No, don't bring your pizza.
Don't bring your pizza.
This is going on national television. Come on, girls. All around me, eh?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this picture to my kids. And all my girlfriends.
Look at that. Yeah, please.
Okay. I will take my camera.
Of course, yeah, good idea.
Anyway,
Careful.
Sorry.
calling?
This is just a video pan. I'm just doing a video pan.
Here, girls, come on here.
Nice,
This
nice.
one's
Very
quiet.
good, very
You haven't
good.
said more than 3 words.
Just a video pan.
This one talks a lot.
That's
There,
cool.
take a picture. Johnny, take a picture with Rebecca.
Come, Johnny.
Rebecca.
Because house needs to be
Okay, let's say
I want to take
pizza.
my hand to her.
Say pizza.
Look at that. Look at that.
Baby.
Oh my God.
Pizza.